It's really about lining up their coursework through the time that they're with us so that we can give them everything that they need in the area they're interested in, that they can turn that into a college path or an associate's degree path or connection in an internship to employment. But if they're not interested, that off ramp of this didn't work for me, but I might want to try this now. And through our counseling offices, helping them redirect so that they can just re-engage in the next thing. And if they don't figure it out while they're with us, that's fine. But maybe they figured out 5 or 6 things they're not interested in doing, and their list is much more narrow and will ultimately save them some money because they're going to be prepared for anything beyond high school based on the rigorous high quality education they're receiving while they're here.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hello, I'm Dr. Scott Rowe. I'm the superintendent of High School District 214, which is a 7 high school district in the suburbs of Chicago. We have 6 comprehensive high schools and 1 high school that's dedicated to special programs in Arlington Heights, which is a suburb of the city of Chicago.
Welcome, Dr. Rowe. I've known you for several years. I'm excited to have you here on the podcast. You have a new role at a new incredible school district. I want to ask you a question I ask people typically who've been in that role for a couple years, and I want to listen to you, learn from you, inspire other leaders in school districts. What's the biggest accomplishment your district has had over the past 1 to 4 years? Or what are you excited to do in the next 1 to 4 years now that you're in this new role in the new district?
Well, I thought a little bit about that question, Josh, as I was preparing for our conversation today. And the challenging part of answering it is I'm new. Yes, we have known each other for several years. We worked together in my prior district as a VIP member and built some great programs for students to kind of share what they saw and see something, say something in a tip line that was wildly successful and is going really well there. I'm really proud to have left that behind. But being new, that's probably the biggest accomplishment. District 214 is one of the most innovative, well-known districts across the country. As I said, we have 6 comprehensive high schools and 1 specialized school of 12,000 unique high school students that are all experiencing an exceptional level of learning focused on being college ready, career ready, and life ready. And what that means to us is we have 40 different career pathways that all of our students are engaging in some way, shape, or form that is very electives heavy, very interest based, but also partners them with over 700 of our local business partners to give them internships, apprenticeships. We have a pack house where our kids are working with contractors and are actually building and rehabbing a home that will then sell as a district to then put into another project. Our students are working in real life situations that make them life ready for whatever life holds for them beyond graduation. So major accomplishments. There are so many wonderful things happening in our district. I'm really proud to have stepped into this role, focused on just forming relationships because that's at my core of learning the people that make our school district so special. And we are embarking on a strategic planning process as the first strategic plan this district has had in over 15 years to really engage with our community at a deep level, to learn what they need us to be in the next 15 to 20 years so we can begin working towards that. We've got big, hairy, audacious, innovative plans for what we can accomplish. And I believe the sky is the limit for us here. But biggest accomplishment, our kids are doing some pretty special things. We were visited by the First Lady, Jill Biden, last spring prior to my arrival because of this career pathway work that we're doing. It's just an exciting time to be in education and is an exciting time to be in District 214. I'm really proud to be here.
We all know that there's a lot of principals that watch here, parents, PTA groups all over the world. And our number one goal is, I would argue, and a lot of our district leaders would agree, is to really nurture these students so that they launch into their future. Like you said, life ready. I want to dive into that, Scott, and I want to dive into what does life ready and career ready mean? Because I think a lot of superintendents are saying, we want to launch these kids into their future. And that could be a trade school. Those are becoming really popular. Huge fan of those here at Smart Social. College, amazing. That's great. You can learn anything on YouTube. The YouTube is the world's best college. I'm just going to go on the record and
Mhm.
say it, and it's free. Or if you want to pay $15 a month for no ads, I'm a huge proponent of that too. But what is your district doing? Give us a little playbook of what are you doing to inspire other districts to get life ready and career ready.
And actually, it's all intertwined because, you go back to the No Child Left Behind days, it was all four-year college or bust. We have invested so much in the career and technical education side of the house. We have a nanotechnology lab at Wheeling High School. We've got manufacturing partnerships where our kids are working on the CNC machines and the actual machines that they would if they went down the manufacturing pathway while they're in school. From robotics competitions to projects that are so engineering focused, they're actually learning from engineers that are spending time with our students, helping us nurture them for what they like. The concept of our pathways really centers around try and find a passion and let's explore everything that we can to one, find what you're not interested in, because then you're saving yourself and your family's money. But two, maybe you'll find something that just lights that fire that you can then pursue and we can help with that. And one of the ways that we go one step further that is so important that actually hits all three of those taglines college ready, career ready, and life ready lives in the power of 15, because what we know and research tells us a student who obtains 15 college credit hours is more likely to pursue and finish that degree or post-secondary learning or the associate's degree or trade school certificate. So we're taking our internships and our pathway support and doubling down on it with dual credit. 85% of our graduates graduate with dual credits in high school and post-secondary, meaning they're going to whatever institution beyond their high school with college credits that they earn while they're with us. And that's so important because it's reducing the cost of college for all of our students and in broadly expanding the access of our kids to a post-secondary institution of some sort. But you partner dual credit with internship and apprentice like experiences, the sky's the limit for what they can accomplish, especially if they can really hone in on that passion and figure out what they're interested in.
Yeah, this is so interesting. A big part of Smart Social is how do we shine online? How do we launch kids into the future? Scott, you've known Smart Social for the safety videos as well. In football or in any sport, there's an offense and a defense. And so, for all the parents watching right now and district leaders, it is good to have that rich dialogue about safety, predators, screen time. But also, what I absolutely love that you're doing, Dr. Rowe, is you've got that offense of how do we use these devices, find our passions, and move into the future. You said something that's really great. I think that is really commonplace for companies, the most innovative companies, which a lot of school districts are looking at. You essentially said, find what you're interested in. And I'm going to add to that and say, what are some ways you're teaching students to fail and learn? Oh, I'm not interested. I try taste test all these items and find out which one you think is the most tasty and go down that route in that food, that career. What are some ways that you're doing that to let students taste test the passions?
Creating on ramps and off ramps for kids
Mhm.
in these pathways. All of our students are going to be associated with one pathway or another. It's really about lining up their coursework through the time that they're with us so that we can give them everything that they need in the area they're interested in, that they can turn that into a college path or an associate's degree path or connection in an internship to employment. But if they're not interested, that off ramp of this didn't work for me, but I might want to try this now. And through our counseling offices, helping them redirect so that they can just re-engage in the next thing. And if they don't figure it out while they're with us, that's fine. But maybe they figured out five or six things they're not interested in doing, and their list is much more narrow and will ultimately save them some money because they're going to be prepared for anything beyond high school based on the rigorous high quality education they're receiving while they're here.
I just love that. On ramps and off ramps doesn't mean failure. And by the way, we all know as adults, failure is actually a really good thing.
Because how many times have we reinvented ourselves, Josh, as adults?
A ton.
What is it that you set, seven different career paths post college is what it used to be. And I'm sure it's probably more now. We live in a gig economy. If someone wants a different role, they go and create it for themselves. It's a world of entrepreneurs. We have to create that mindset.
When I was starting Smart Social many years ago, I went to this really neat venture capital firm, and I always knew that this wouldn't be something we accept money outside from. But this one person said something brilliant that it works with students that we meet with in our student teen life coaching program. I think this is really meaningful for all the district leaders that are listening to this today. He said, stop calling it a business where it gets all emotional and it's who you are. And I have to go down that career path and this and that. And if I fail, it's who I am and I don't know how to pivot. He said, start calling it a project. And I think that's so beautiful with teens these days. Hey, I'm going to go try this project and it's going to be working on cars because I might want to be a mechanic or an engineer around automobiles. Hey, oh, that project didn't work or I finished it and I learned something. And I just love that thought process because what you're saying with on ramps and off ramps is just so gentle. It's like a project. I'm trying this. I'm gonna be on the freeway for a little while. I'm gonna go off ramp or highway or toll road, whatever that is.
Sure.
Absolutely love that.
Well, what schools have gotten so wrong for so long is we're so big and we're so bureaucratic that sometimes we know the change that needs to occur, but it just takes so long for us to turn a battleship around in a canal.
Yeah.
And what we really need to do is we need to be more agile. We're a service industry. We're here for our students. If they need us to pivot, we need to be able to pivot rather quickly. So that really ingrained itself into the system of how we work with students and how we work with teachers of the mindset of fail forward as a concept. Our kids believe it more than the adults do. They're okay with it. We need to continue, as you said, to nurture that because that you're 100% correct. We'll make changes in life, and we have to be ready for that.
Another thing that I really want parents who listening to this is sometimes we're hard on ourselves. We say, Josh, I'm not that tech savvy. And as I've gone around the country to 29 states to speak to parent night events, I always tell parents, stop saying that. Instead, let's change the words to
Yeah,
I'm learning Snapchat or I'm learning this. And here's why I say that. Every parent says, my kids are so much better at tech than I am. Actually, I would argue that because the device is free, and those of you listening right now, I'm holding up my iPhone, because the device is free to the kids, they're actually really good testers. They don't have to pay for it if they break it. So they're just clicking things failing forward, as Dr. Rowe just said, and they're testing it. And they're not like, I'm not good at this. They're just like, I'm learning this device that
right.
my parents put in front of me for quote unquote free. And the failure rate doesn't scare me. I'm just going to try everything. And that's why sometimes parents are having a tough time. Like, how are they understanding this faster than us?
I'll tell you how I found Smart Social was just as a parent. My son, when he was in, I want to say he's a freshman now, but I want to say he was in fifth or sixth grade, and he was just getting his first phone, and he was asking about social media. And as an educator, I knew some of the concerns, and I was trying to learn about some of the platforms that I just, Snapchat to me at the time was kind of a concerning thing. It disappears after it's sent. As an administrator, I hated it. So I needed to learn about how do I help him and protect him. And so I actually just got online and found Smart Social and watched one of the free Snapchat videos. And then that just turned into the educator mind and me turning on of this might be something more for my families and the community that I work in. I reached out and then here we are, 5 years later, and we've had a long-standing partnership and are continuing to support one another, which has been great.
I'm really grateful for you and what you've done. Let's actually dive into something different because there's something you can do to inspire and build a playbook for other leaders that no one else can do. And I'm fortunate to have had your former team and you push
Mhm.
Smart Social to develop and innovate something. Um, in the past at your previous district, who we love and adore and support, there are things out there, district leaders. I want to just at least paint a picture of the different options you have. When you go to buy a car, you have a gasoline, a hybrid, an electric. You can get a truck, you can get all these different things, and there are benefits to all. There are drawbacks to some and benefits to every one of them. There's no perfect answer. However, I do want to tell everybody that Dr. Rowe eventually contacted us about our VIP program, and we were able to implement our live parent engagement events and do all this really neat stuff. But then there's a second request. Hey, we have something where we'd like the students to give us some feedback and be able to text something in. And we went back to the drawing board, and a lot of districts have a see something, say something that's an anonymous helpline where you can click a button, submit something. And some of our feedback as we met, Dr. Rowe, with your previous team was we don't want a one-way anonymous thing. We don't want somebody to report something serious and there's no way for us to reach back out to that student, that parent, and console them and let them know, we hear you, come in and see a counselor. We really went to the drawing board and figured something out. So I wanted you to talk to everybody about the benefits rather than just an anonymous helpline,
Mhm.
the benefits of a confidential two-way helpline and how that can help their community, no matter where these district leaders find it, What are the benefits of a two-way text message line?
You said a good portion of it. It was that the response. What we, and this goes back to, days as a principal when the tip line was a phone number and you called and left a message. And then the assistant superintendent would call me as a principal and say, "Hey, I got two messages last night. Can you look into this?" It needed to be more immediate. And so we had a partnership with another platform, and it was a one way. Students would text it in, but there was no way of responding. So we would always hear from students. We had handled it, but we'd hear from students, "Well, I sent something in, but I don't know if anything ever happened." They were losing trust in our system that they were heard, it was responded to, and their environment was safe. This is nothing I take credit for. This is more, kudos to our deans and counselors for giving this feedback to Josh and his team. But it was really, we want to have an automated response to the student that says, "Your message has been received. We will follow up with you if we have any questions, or to thank you for sharing this information." And that allowed us to not necessarily know who the student was. It was still anonymous, but we could at least reply back, "Your message was really helpful. This has been handled. If you continue to see things, reach out again." Or, "We have some additional questions. We could really use what more details of what you saw. Would you be willing to come in and meet with your counselor?" And get still that control lived with the student, but it really turned into more of a relationship and a working relationship than just dropping information for us to try and find our way through.
And I think what you said was the key to all the district leaders listening is students want feedback. We as humans, I'm an employer. All you district
Mhm.
leaders are employers. You have a staff that does great things to make an impact in the world. We want feedback. Hey, how are we doing on that project? Oh, yeah, yeah. Done. Boom, boom, boom. And that's what these teens were begging for, if you will. Some of the successful things that you did, and district leaders, you don't have to call Smart Social. Go find this from somebody. But uh, the previous district, Dr. Rowe put all the hotlines on the back of the student's ID. So the student had nowhere to go. They could just text their question. If parents called the hotline, it forwarded to the school, that individual school's front desk, front office. "Hello, this is the middle school or the high school," which was brilliant. There was a place for them to go. They got an instant "Thank you. If you're in danger, please call 911, but we'll get back to you during business hours." A real principal or assistant principal would answer and go, "Confirmed. We think we have this handled," or a follow-up question of, "Can you tell us more about the incident or who might have done that? Do you have a screenshot of that bullying message?" And what we heard from your district was they were ahead of the incidents. They now,
Mhm.
on Monday morning, knew what was happening rather than jumping into detective mode. Can you talk a little bit more to what you heard on your side of things about that? Were
Sure.
you ahead of the game?
Well, some of the concern really is, do we have time for this? Because that's probably one of the greatest constraints on a dean's office or someone chasing down a discipline situation is, do I have time for all of this? Because one situation can blow your entire day up, and it consumes you. But the ability to respond to the student at your computer or from your phone, and it doesn't give your phone number, but through that platform, it saves time, the student feels whole, and you don't have to chase down and figure who this student is to have that closed conversation with them. But our deans did. I mean, we were able to respond. We've been living in the age of crowds of students post-COVID. Vaping in the bathrooms has been one of the biggest struggles in middle and high schools. And that turns into tardiness, it turns into chronic absenteeism, it turns into drug use in schools. And that allowed us to get real-time response without having a device in the bathroom of there's noise elevation that the kids could avoid, but we could respond and show up at the door of the restroom while it was still happening. The students at the restroom had no idea who shared what was happening, and all of a sudden we've got 15 kids who are doing things they shouldn't be doing. If you're issuing a consequence, it needs to be immediate. Just like when we're, working with people. If I don't feel that, or if I'm not held responsible for my behavior immediately, I'm likely to continue that behavior. And if there's a dean, a counselor, or a principal waiting at the outside of the bathroom, at that moment, that conversation to change the behavior can happen, which is our ultimate goal. It's not about issuing consequences. It's about keeping our students safe, keeping them healthy, and getting them where they need to be, which is on the learning path.
I absolutely love that. So positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. And a lot of those students that are texting in were refreshed that I got a response. I feel like someone heard me. And I think we as adults and even as teens kind of want to hear that. So, district leaders, no matter where you get that, you could use a free Google Voice number to do this. I do think Scott Rowe's previous team was really powerful. And rather than just an anonymous tool, it's a confidential tool that has two-way communication. And that's really what we want to leave you with is how do you get the two-way communication? Some tools out there will allow you to schedule a text. So if you get a student that says, I have a friend that's not doing so good, great. Well, we're going to text that friend and
Mhm.
we're going to, but if a student says, I want to see a counselor, we can remind them, schedule it an hour before on that next date. Hey, remember you're scheduled to see the counselor in 1 hour. They're looking forward to seeing you. That scheduling is powerful. There's all these little features as basic as a free Google Voice number that each school could use is maybe the start of it. Confidential. It's really powerful. Now, Dr. Rowe, I want to dive into the next question for you. What is your suggestion for other school districts to increase parent engagement? And a follow-up question as a part of that, are there any specific channels that you've either developed at your previous district or your current district that get the biggest turnout?
Well, this is a tough one, Josh, because post COVID, we've seen a drop in engagement in physical events. The option that I've seen the most engagement were some of your virtual events where families were able to come in and Zoom, watch the presentation, but then ask live questions. I heard very positive feedback about that. I would encourage families to do that. As a parent, that's what hooked me in wanting to reach out was attending one of the live events. The same way of our students wanting to be heard and feeling valued, our families do as well. Asking our parents, what is it that you're interested in? What do you need help with? And then it's on us, I think, to work, with a partner like you of how can we then provide that support to them? Because if they're getting what they want and how they need it delivered to them, then I think that we're going to increase in our involvement. But it's about a relationship. I mean, the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. We're proud to be a part of that village. We want to do our part to meet our families where they are so we can get them what they need. Because being a parent's hard. It's really hard. It's harder today than it was for our parents. I can promise you that because I'm grateful I didn't grow up in the age of social media. Being a kid today is really hard. Like I said, we're proud to be part of that village. And we want to walk with our families, and I know every educator across the country feels the same way.
Some of the trends that we're hearing, Dr. Rowe, now from our hundreds of superintendents on the podcast is, and for other district leaders that are listening, they love engagement events that are virtual. Side note, thank you to all the school districts and Dr. Rowe's previous school district to partner with us, 54 plus live events with lots of different flavors of knowledge. We're putting real teens in there. This isn't a plug. This is just, I'm building a framework to make it the biggest dent in this world. And districts, you can steal it, run with it, get a demo pass to try it, please. Save a life. Tell us how it works for you. But the next thing that we're hearing from superintendents is, Josh, the biggest turnout in-person events at a recital, a choir event, all these
Yeah.
things that are really powerful. Yes, it's amazing to have these 54 plus live events in multiple languages and people are in there and we're nurturing. We get 10x the engaged parents over a year than versus just doing a one-off. But in addition, one pro tip to all you superintendents out there that I'm hearing is if we do a recital or we do some kind of joint event, a PTA event where people are raving about something, let's throw in a little baby module in the beginning of teens talking about TikTok, teens talking about too much screen time and how they feel. And that opens up a dialogue. Everybody goes home with a little one sheet of here's the dialogue starters with your kiddos that you could ask so that parents, once you have that dialogue, kids know, whoa, I can go back to mom with those questions and so on. And I want to paint a picture to everybody, a vision. Does a world exist where every event on campus becomes 3 to 5 minutes of a social media safety dialogue starter because these devices? Does a world exist where now that that device is a part of our kids' life with them 24/7, where every single on campus event becomes a dialogue about that new thing? Dr. Rowe, what are your thoughts there? Have you done combined events? And what are some of your tips on when you do bring people on campus, integrating the narrative that you want for people to remember?
Being a little bit vulnerable here with you, I think that that's a really great idea. I kind of mad at myself for not thinking about it already. A lot of our parent events are high school based. It's not so much district based. Whereas in my prior district, the district ran a lot of it because it was a K 12 district. when you have 7 different high schools and 6 comprehensive high schools, their connection to our school district is through their high school because it's really 8 different communities and 6 different high schools. So our parent teacher coalition or that parent booster component is really a well attended thing for us. And they have doing. We just held an event at Buffalo Grove High School where it was my child is 18, now what?
Yeah.
And it was really a coming of age kind of a session. And that spread because the interest was so wide that group opened it up district wide and turned it into a great parent informational. But I think you're right. A simple 3 to 5 minute plug ahead of something parents that are really well attended is a great way of hooking people in, but also really ensuring your message is heard. The most important messages for sure.
It's called sell them what they want, but give them what they need. What kids want is, I want pizza, but what they need is sometimes the greens and the nutritionists and all these nutrients, right? So what we're always joking about at Smart Social, because we're always working with parents who are busy, is sell them what they want. And what Dr. Rowe is talking about is bring them on campus for that recital. Like, I want to see my kids, but what I need is just have that rich dialogue about TikTok. And in the room, parents love two things. They want to hear about the dangers sometimes, or they want to know, is it going to hurt me today? But what they need are also the strategies that are the long term of,
Right.
hey, that rich dialogue ahead of time about let's not talk to strangers. What does that really mean? These are the things you can talk to kids about. Or should we try vaping? Or all these things that they'll put off. They need those dialogues about right now. So district leaders, we want you to think about naming your events what people want. And I'm not saying scare them how predators are contacting your kids. I'm not saying that at all, but refine it 10 different versions. You know the event you're going to give them. You know what you're going to put in. It could be a PTA event, but you could
Mhm.
still name the PTA something that is exciting for them because it's what they want. It's on the top of their mind. What you give them in that event will still be the nutritional layout of what they need to do. There's going to be PTA discussion. There might be an events discussion, and there might be somewhere in there, let's dialogue about the digital tools kids are using. Does anybody have any concerns? What should we as a district do? We're here to listen. And we have a one sheet with dialogue starters.
Well, let's take your point and go one step further, actually, Josh, because our reality today is, as a parent, I don't have time. I don't have time for one more event. I'm going to make time for my child's event because I want to see them do what they love, but I don't have time for one more meeting. And we as educators have to realize that if we can sell them what they want, which is their child doing cool things, and give them what they need, which is broccoli and cauliflower on the side of that meal, which is their safety and how to help them be life ready.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you one more question. How is your school district approaching AI tools like ChatGPT and all these other tools that students can use? And a follow up question, how do we use them in a productive way so students
Mhm.
don't see it as, oh no, I can't use that? 6 months ago, every student was like, I never used that. It was bad. And I'm like, whoa, it actually is the world's best tutor. How do we make students know it's what's good and bad ways to use these tools?
Like most things, when people are afraid, it's the adults are the ones that are actually afraid of it, not the kids. It's the wrong move, in my opinion, to disallow something to be used like a chat GPT. We need to find a way to use it for our benefit because like the device that we all have, the computer in our pocket, it's not going anywhere. Have them generate an opening paragraph or a 5 paragraph essay on chat GPT, and then let's go a little bit deeper and use depth of knowledge and enhance it by editing because editing is actually a higher level skill than just writing. And if we can edit the work that the technology creates for us, then not only are we learning at a high level, but we're also training our students how to take the impersonal components of what an AI paper or letter would create and turn it into something you could actually use, which is likely how we're going to engage with it. We have a think tank of teachers in our school district that are really looking at the morals and ethics behind AI in school, but they're also looking at ways how can we leverage it to save time as educators, writing IEPs, writing tests, writing lesson plans, and then Bill Daggett it gets credit for this statement, but it's really an 80-20 kind of a philosophy. Save 80% of the time and invest 20% of the time I would have used creating something in editing it, making it better, and making it personalized for the students I have in front of me. Because if I said that 80% of the time, I can now use to help take my students learning further and really interact with them and spend time with them human to human, which is where the relationship is built. And in my opinion, which is how we as educators take our kids further and really leverage it for our use. So we shouldn't be afraid with it. We can let our students see us trying to use it, even if it doesn't go well. We've all learned something in that moment. Talk about failing forward, bringing our conversation full circle. What better way to show students that we're learning too, and learning is not something we ever stop doing? That's the best lesson we as educators can probably give our kids.
I absolutely love that. Dr. Rowe, thank you so much for your time today. For all of you district leaders out there, thank you to the many districts that are supporting us, the dozens and dozens in 29 different states, and even all of you amazing people in Alaska and multilingual. Thank you so much for all that you're doing to spread the smart social message. Remember, we're here to keep your students safe on these digital tools like social media, but also we're here so that someday they can shine online. And that means make them ready with these life skills so that they can navigate these addictive devices and they know how to be self-aware at a young age, vulnerable with their parents, have that rich dialogue so they can use these tools to build a portfolio, to do positive things online, to develop good relationships online with the people who they know in classroom, in real life, not a bunch of strangers, and they know the difference and the boundaries there. We're grateful for the chance to work with all of you school districts, all of you parents who are opting in and doing great things in our platform. And kudos to the amazing Smart Social team nationwide who's doing all the work. Thanks to everybody for watching. And as the title of my book says, remember to keep it light, bright, and polite because our kids are watching what we do online. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you all on the next episode. Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.